Hi, I'm Anthony from learningtoplaytheguitar.net. In this video we're going to look at the major scales and how they relate to key signatures. Scales are the building blocks of melody, and even the notes of scales are combined to create chords. The first major scale we're going to look at is the C major scale, which sounds like this. The notes I was playing were sort of based around the shape of the C major chord. The idea is that the notes of the C major scale fit the C major chord, so if someone played a C major chord behind that scale, which I'll play again just now, you'll hear that it sounds like they would fit quite well together. So that is the C major scale. So one of the tricks with this is to, when I'm playing, you might have noticed that I'll use the 3rd fret here as my 3rd finger, 2nd fret will be using my 2nd finger, and when I play notes on the 1st fret down here, which is a C at the very end of the scale, I am going to use my 1st finger. The next major scale we're going to play is the G major scale, which sounds like this. So one of the things to be aware of when we're playing something like G major is that we're introducing notes that are called sharp notes, or sharp, and there's the other thing called flat notes as well, which we'll come to in a minute. But in the scale of G major, we're now adding the idea of a sharp note. You might have heard of a sharp note, which looks like a hash symbol, and you would have seen that in the sheet music that just popped up there and is still on the screen. And the idea is that if we don't play the note which is F sharp in this scale, so the scale here is G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp there, fret number 2, G. If we didn't play the F sharp, it would sound like this: G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. It sounds a little bit different, that F to G versus the F sharp to G. So the idea of a sharp note on the guitar is you go up 1 fret, so this is what's called F, or F natural, and this is called F sharp, 1 fret up. So the idea of it being an F sharp is the idea that a major scale has a formula of what's called the intervals, or the steps between the notes, and they must be sort of adhered to make the sound of the major scale. If we start mucking around with that, it's become something else completely different entirely. So the idea of the F sharp must be in there to make it work, and this is where keys come from. So in the key of G major, which is the G major scale we just played, there is an F sharp to make it fit this formula for the major scale. So the steps of a major scale are combined of intervals or steps in a scale called whole tones and semitones, which are sometimes called half tones as well. So a whole tone on the guitar is a note that is 2 frets apart, like from, say, here is G to A. I'm playing all these notes just on the 1 string here, all on the 3rd G string. And a semitone is a one fret away, which would be, say, from, say, in this case, here's a B note here to C. So the combination of these whole tones and semitones, or whole tones and half tone steps, make the sound of a major scale, and also the sound of other sorts of scales as well. So in particular, the major scale formula, or steps or intervals to make it give you that particular sound, is a whole tone, another whole tone, a semitone, another whole tone, another whole tone, one more whole tone, and then a semitone on the top. So if you alter any of these steps in any sort of way, the scales do sound quite different. So again, just sticking with the idea of G major here, just doing it on the 1 string so you can see it quite plainly. The notes here are G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp up here, and G. One little bonus while you can notice while I'm doing this here, when you get to 12th fret on the guitar, that is G, which is the same as the open string G, so it's the same with all the strings as you go along. So let's say for example, we'll just we'll get rid of that F sharp and we'll just make it F natural. So instead of being F sharp here on the 11th fret, take it down to F natural. The scale will sound quite different. So G, A, B, C, D, E, F natural, G. Doesn't sound the same as. So with the keys, the idea is that you're adding in sharps or flats in particular keys to make them fit this formula. So as I said before, with G major you've got an F sharp, and with some of the other scales coming up, we're going to look at F major in a second. F major needs a B flat to make it fit this scale formula, otherwise it's going to sound a bit strange. So the key signatures are written to show you what sharps or flats are in a particular key or groups of notes to make them fit the scale, and the scale also then determines what sort of chords will be used in the key of a particular song as well. So it all ties in together, so it's all coming from this whole, semitone, whole tone, another whole tone, and finishing off with a semitone. Alright, the scale of F major is very similar, a bit like how the C major scale sort of is fitting around the shape of the C major chord. The F major scale, this pattern I'm going to play, sort of is based around the shape of the F major chord, or the 4-string version of F, which I'm just holding here. So here's your F major chord. So now we're going to play a scale around that. So here is the F major scale. So on the scale of F major, to make it fit the formula, it actually has a note called B flat. So the idea of a flat note on the guitar is we're going to go down a fret in pitch. So instead of, if we didn't have B flat in it, it would sound like this, which is again is the idea it must adhere to that formula to make it sound like a major scale and fit what's called the key signature. So without the B flat, the scale sounds like this. Which sounds very different to the one with the B flat in it, which is this. So the B flat here is this note in particular. So if we play the scale, just bit by bit, is F, G, A, B flat here on the 3rd fret. So on the guitar, the B is, you've got the open B string, or you can also have B over here, 1 fret up on the 4th fret. So the idea is that's B or B natural, take it down a fret, and we're playing B flat, which again makes it fit that formula of the major scale. So the key of F major has a B flat in it, or the key signature of F major has a B flat in it to make it fit the major scale formula or pattern or steps of the major scale. So the last scale we're going to look at is D major. Again, we're sticking to scales using open strings for the moment. So here is D major. And I'll just play this and then we'll talk a bit about it. So with this scale in particular, you'll notice that my hand's moved over. My first finger is now playing on the 2nd fret, and my 3rd finger is here on the 4th fret, and my 2nd finger was doing things on the 3rd fret. This is called playing in a position, in a sense. So we're sort of playing, you could say it's playing in 2nd position with my fingers, even though we're using open strings within the pattern. So I'll just do it again, just to watch what the fingers are doing as we play. So to make D major fit the major scale formula, there are 2 sharps within that to make sure that the steps of the major scale are adhered to. So the first sharp is D, E, F sharp over here, then you got a G, then you got an A, then you got a B, and then C sharp, because it's 1 fret up from where C would be, and D. And just going back to that F sharp was, F is there, we take it 1 fret up and then you got F sharp. So you could play the D major scale using your 2nd finger on the 2nd fret and your little finger on the 4th fret, which is quite possible to do, but it is a bit more awkward. So that's the idea of using your 1st and your 3rd fingers on these 2 frets, etc. is much easier to do than, I think, having to use your little finger over here when you don't really need to use your 1st finger on the 1st fret at all. So generally it's thinking about what's efficient fingering and easier to pull off, playing D major that way versus having to do it this way.